The great hall of Vex Prime sparkled like a giant diamond under the purple sky. Inside, 12 different alien races sat around a massive table made of floating crystal. Their voices echoed through the chamber as they argued about the newest problem in the galaxy. Representative Kral stood up from his seat. His blue skin glowed softly as he spoke to the others. "We cannot ignore this threat any longer," he said, his voice deep and serious. "The humans have advanced too quickly. In just 500 years, they went from using wooden ships to traveling between stars. This is not normal." The other aliens nodded their agreement. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like giant insects with shiny shells. A few resembled walking plants with leaves for hair, but they all shared the same worried expression. Chancellor Vrix, the leader of the council, clicked her mandibles together. She looked like a praying mantis, but was as tall as 3 humans. "Show them the data," she commanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table. It showed Earth, a small blue planet spinning slowly. Numbers and charts surrounded the image, all glowing red to show danger. "Look at this," Kral pointed at the display. "Most species take 10,000 years to develop space travel. The Threnody Empire took 15,000 years. The Zephyrians took 20,000. But humans did it in less than 1,000 years. They are not following the natural order." An alien that looked like a walking tree spoke up. "Perhaps they are simply gifted," it said in a voice like rustling leaves. "Gifted?" Kral laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "They are dangerous. They create weapons from everything. They fight wars while exploring space. They refuse to follow our guidance. 17 other young species have accepted our help and joined our peaceful galaxy. Only humans reject our wisdom." Chancellor Vrix tapped her claws on the crystal table. "What do you suggest, Representative Kral?" "Neutralization protocols," Kral said firmly. "We have used them successfully 17 times before. We limit their technology, guide their development, and ensure they become productive members of our galactic community." The other aliens whispered among themselves. They had seen what happened to species that refused to accept council guidance. Those species became worker races, serving the older civilizations that knew better. "Very well," Chancellor Vrix decided. "Prepare the message." Far away from Vex Prime, Admiral Teho stood on the bridge of the orbital station New Sol. The station floated high above Earth, watching over the blue planet like a protective guardian. Through the large windows, he could see Earth's cities glowing like jewels in the darkness. Teho was not a tall man, but he carried himself with quiet strength. His uniform was simple and clean, bearing the symbol of the Earth Defense Force. He had spent his whole life protecting humanity, first as a pilot, then as a captain, and now as an admiral. "Sir," called Lieutenant Park from her station, "we're receiving a transmission from deep space. It's from the Galactic Council." Teho felt his stomach tighten. Humanity had known about the Council for 3 years now, ever since first contact. The meetings had not gone well. The aliens seemed to think humans were too young, too violent, too unpredictable. "Put it through," Teho ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Chancellor Vrix's insect-like face. Her compound eyes reflected the light as she spoke. "Greetings, humans of Earth," she began. Her voice was translated into perfect Korean by the computer systems. "I am Chancellor Vrix of the Galactic Council. We have made a decision regarding your species." Teho crossed his arms and waited. He had a feeling he would not like what came next. "Your rapid advancement concerns us greatly," Vrix continued. "No species should develop so quickly without proper guidance. You have created weapons of mass destruction. You wage wars among yourselves. You refuse to accept the wisdom of older, more peaceful civilizations." The Chancellor paused, letting her words sink in. Therefore, the Council has decided to implement neutralization protocols. You will accept our technological limitations. You will allow our supervisors to guide your development. You will join the galactic community as a supervised species. Teho felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his face calm. If you refuse, Vrix added, we will be forced to neutralize your threat to galactic peace. We have done this 17 times before. Each time, the young species eventually thanked us for our guidance. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Admiral, Lieutenant Park said quietly, what are your orders? Before Teho could answer, another voice spoke up. I think we all know what this means. Everyone turned to see Dr. So-Ra entering the bridge. She was Earth's chief xenobiologist, the person who knew more about alien life than anyone else on the planet. Her lab coat was stained with various chemicals, and her hair was tied back in a messy bun. Doctor, Teho said, you shouldn't be on the bridge during a military briefing. This isn't just military anymore, So-Ra replied, holding up a data tablet. I've been studying the samples the Council delegates left behind during their last visit. Their neutralization protocols aren't just about limiting technology. She activated her tablet, showing complex biological data. They use a combination of neural implants and genetic modifications. The 17 species they mentioned, they're not peaceful members of the galactic community. They're slaves. Their brains have been altered to make them obedient and content with serving their masters. The bridge fell silent again. Everyone understood what this meant. How long do we have? Teho asked. Dr. So-Ra checked her readings. Based on their ship movements, I'd say they'll arrive within a month. They're bringing a full neutralization fleet. At that moment, Captain Dongwu's voice came through the communication system. He was commanding the deep space vessel Busan Rising, humanity's fastest scout ship. Admiral Teho, this is Captain Dongwu. His voice crackled through the speakers. I'm transmitting urgent intelligence from the outer colonies. Go ahead, Captain, Teho replied. Sir, Council fleets are already positioning themselves around our settlements on Mars and Europa. They have at least 200 ships, each one the size of a city. They're not just planning to negotiate. They're preparing for full occupation. Teho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his expression was grim but determined. Thank you, Captain. Return to Earth immediately. He turned to face his crew. Contact Earth Parliament. Tell them we need an emergency session. As the crew rushed to follow orders, So-Ra stepped closer to the Admiral. Teho, she said quietly. There's something else. Something I haven't told anyone yet. What is it? The Council thinks they know everything about human technology, but they don't know about Project Ghost. Teho looked at her with surprise. Project Ghost was Earth's most classified program, so secret that even he only knew bits and pieces about it. Are you saying we have a chance? He asked. So-Ra smiled for the first time since the crisis began. I'm saying the Council is about to learn why they should have left humanity alone. Down on Earth in the Great Assembly Hall of the Earth Parliament, President Hyojin stood before the gathered representatives of every nation. The hall buzzed with worried conversations in dozens of languages, but everyone fell silent when she began to speak. Fellow humans, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. We face a choice that will determine the future of our species. We can submit to alien control and become slaves, or we can fight for our freedom. She paused, looking at the faces around her. These were leaders from every culture, every background, every belief system on Earth. But in this moment, they were united. The Galactic Council believes we are too young, too violent, too unpredictable to be free. They want to change us, to make us obedient and peaceful like the 17 species they have already conquered. Angry murmurs filled the hall. But we are human. President Hyojin continued, her voice growing stronger. We have faced extinction before and survived. We have overcome every challenge our world has thrown at us. We have turned our greatest weaknesses into our greatest strengths." She stood taller, her words ringing with conviction. "I call for a vote. All in favor of rejecting the Council's ultimatum and defending human freedom, say yes." The response was immediate and unanimous. Every voice in the hall shouted yes at the same time. The sound echoed through the building like thunder. President Hyojin smiled grimly. "Then it's decided. Send word to Admiral Taeho. Tell him humanity chooses to fight." As the message traveled up to the orbital station, Sora was already making preparations. Deep beneath Antarctica, in facilities that officially did not exist, Project Ghost was finally ready to begin. The Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought they understood humanity, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see. The real preparations had been hidden for decades, waiting for exactly this moment. Earth would not go quietly into slavery. The species that had turned survival into an art form was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do when threatened with extinction. The trap was set. Now all they had to do was wait for the Council to take the bait. Fleet Commander Zeftar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Dominion's Will. The ship was so large that it took 5 minutes to walk from one end to the other. Through the enormous viewing windows, he could see his fleet of 200 warships moving toward the small yellow star that humans called Sol. Zeftar was proud of his fleet. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack a planet in half. His crews had neutralized 17 different species over the past 1,000 years. Not once had they failed. Not once had a species been able to resist the Council's will. "Commander," his aide called out, "we are approaching the human system. Our scouts report no significant military presence. The humans appear to be evacuating their outer colonies." Zeftar nodded with satisfaction. "As expected. They know they cannot fight us, so they run like frightened animals." "How long until we reach Earth?" 6 hours, sir." "Good. Begin the standard neutralization sequence as soon as we enter orbit. First, the electromagnetic pulse to disable their technology, then the atmospheric processors. We will have this system under control by tomorrow." Deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, Engineer Jin Woo wiped sweat from his forehead as he made final adjustments to the most complex machine ever built by human hands. The facility stretched for miles underground, hidden from any satellite or sensor that might try to find it. The Ghost Protocol had been humanity's secret project for 50 years. While the world above thought humanity was just building better rockets and faster computers, the real work was happening here. Jin Woo had spent his entire adult life working on this project, and now it was finally ready. "Status report," he called out to his team. "Quantum field generators at full power," replied Dr. Kim, his chief assistant. "Dimensional anchors are locked in place. All systems show green across the board." Jin Woo looked at the massive machines that surrounded him. They hummed with barely contained energy, ready to do something that the Galactic Council believed was impossible. The aliens thought they understood physics, but humans had found a way around their so-called natural laws. "How long until activation?" Jin Woo asked. "Waiting for the signal from Admiral Taeho. Once the Council fleet is in position, we can begin." Above ground, Commander Mirai was leading the largest evacuation in human history. Millions of people were moving into the underground cities that had been secretly built over the past decades. These weren't simple bomb shelters. They were complete civilizations designed to keep humanity alive even if the surface of Earth became uninhabitable. "Move quickly but stay calm," Mirai called out through her communicator to the evacuation teams around the world. "We have practiced this 1,000 times. Everyone knows where to go." She watched as families loaded onto transport vehicles that would take them to safety. Children carried their favorite toys. Parents held babies close to their chests. Elderly grandparents leaned on walking sticks as they made their way to the tunnels. But Mirai noticed something that would have surprised the Galactic Council. Nobody was crying. Nobody was screaming in panic. The humans moved with purpose and determination. They trusted their leaders, and they believed in their plan. "Commander," her lieutenant reported, "all major population centers are at 90% evacuation. We should have everyone underground within the hour." "Good," Mireille replied. "And the military preparations?" "All personnel are in position and ready for Phase 2. Mireille smiled grimly. The aliens expected to find frightened humans begging for mercy. Instead, they would find a species that had turned their entire world into a weapon. In a hidden laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean, scientist Kyung-ho was putting the finishing touches on humanity's secret defense. He had been studying alien technology for 3 years, ever since first contact. What he had learned would change everything. "The quantum displacement field is stable," he reported to his team. "Once we activate the Ghost Protocol, normal physics will no longer apply in our local area of space-time. Human technology will function at impossible efficiency levels while alien systems will begin to fail." His assistant, Dr. Lee, looked worried. "Are you sure this will work? We've only been able to test small portions of the system." Kyung-ho nodded confidently. "The mathematics are perfect. Humans have always been good at thinking outside the box. While other species accepted the limits of physics, we found ways around them. The Council is about to learn that their science is not the only science." On the bridge of New Seoul Station, Admiral Tae-ho watched as the Council fleet entered Earth's solar system. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They looked unstoppable. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called out, "the Council fleet is hailing us. Put them through." Chancellor Vrix appeared on the main screen, her insect-like face showing what might have been satisfaction. "Admiral Tae-ho, I trust you have prepared your surrender. We detected your evacuation efforts. A wise decision to move your people to safety before we begin neutralization." Tae-ho stood straight and looked directly at the alien leader. "Chancellor, I have a message from the people of Earth." "I am listening." Tae-ho's voice was calm but firm. "We decline your generous offer." For a moment, Chancellor Vrix said nothing. Her compound eyes seemed to shimmer with confusion. "I do not understand. You cannot possibly resist our fleet. We have overwhelming force." "Perhaps," Tae-ho replied. "But we have something you don't." "And what is that?" Tae-ho smiled. "Imagination." The transmission ended, leaving Chancellor Vrix staring at a blank screen. She turned to Fleet Commander Zeftar. "Begin neutralization immediately. These humans are more foolish than I thought." Back on Earth, Captain Dongwoo had returned from his scouting mission and was now in the hidden command center beneath New Seoul. His ship, the Busan Rising, was the fastest vessel in the human fleet, but even he knew it could not outrun the Council's massive warships. "Captain," Admiral Tae-ho's voice came through the communicator. "Are you ready for your part in this?" "Yes, sir. My crew and I are prepared." "Good. Remember, timing is everything. You must wait until the Council fleet is exactly where we need them to be." Captain Dongwoo looked at his instruments. The Council ships were moving into orbit around Earth, positioning themselves for maximum effect. Their electromagnetic pulse weapons were charging up, ready to shut down every piece of human technology on the planet. But they didn't know about the quantum shielding that protected Earth's real technology. They didn't know about the dimensional anchors hidden in the planet's core. They didn't know that everything they thought they understood about human capabilities was wrong. "Fleet in position," reported his communications officer. Dongwoo took a deep breath. "Signal Admiral Tae-ho. Tell him we're ready to spring the trap." On the surface, President Hai-jin stood in the secure bunker beneath the Parliament building. Around her, the leaders of every nation watched screens showing the Council fleet taking positions above their world. The alien ships were so large they blocked out portions of the sky. "Madam President," her military advisor said, "the people are asking if we're really going to fight ships that big." President Hai-jin looked at the screens showing the massive alien vessels. Any one of those ships could destroy a continent, but she felt no fear, only determination. Tell the people that size doesn't matter when you know how to use leverage, she replied. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. In space above Earth, Chancellor Vrix gave the order she had given 17 times before. Begin electromagnetic. Pulse. Shut down all human technology. The Council ships fired their weapons. Waves of electromagnetic energy swept across Earth's surface, designed to destroy every computer, every power grid, every piece of advanced technology the humans possessed. But nothing happened. Every human city continued to glow with light. Every communication system continued to work. Every piece of human technology continued to function perfectly. Impossible, whispered Fleet Commander Zeftar. The pulse should have disabled everything. Try again, Chancellor Vrix ordered. Double the power. The second pulse was even stronger than the first. It should have shut down technology for hundreds of years. But still, nothing happened to Earth's systems. Down in the Antarctic facility, Engineer Jin Wu watched his instruments with satisfaction. Quantum shielding is working perfectly. Their electromagnetic pulses can't affect technology that exists partially outside normal space-time. He activated his communicator. Admiral Tae-ho, the Council has taken the bait. All ships are in position. Directly above Earth, we are ready to activate Ghost Protocol. On the bridge of New Seoul, Admiral Tae-ho looked out at the Council fleet surrounding his world. 200 massive warships, each one convinced of its own invincibility. They had positioned themselves exactly where humanity needed them to. "Be Dr. Sora," he said into his communicator. "Begin Phase 1. 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sora placed her hand on the activation control. Around her, the most advanced quantum computers ever built hummed with power. The Ghost Protocol was about to begin. "Activating quantum displacement field," she announced. "Beginning dimensional phase shift in 3, 2, 1. The universe around Earth began to change. Reality itself started to bend and twist as humanity's greatest achievement came online. The first sign that something was wrong came from the navigation systems. Fleet Commander Zeftar stared at his instruments in confusion as the readings made no sense at all. "What is happening to our sensors?" he demanded from his crew. "Sir, we're detecting massive spatial distortions around Earth," his science officer replied, her voice shaking. "The quantum signatures are completely unstable. According to our readings, the planet should not exist." Zeftar looked out the viewing window at Earth. The blue planet was still there, but something about it seemed different. The light around it bent in strange ways, and the stars in the background appeared to be moving. "Commander!" another officer called out in panic. "Our communication systems are failing. We've lost contact with the rest of the Council fleet." On the bridge of the Threnody warship Eternal Victory, Captain Mordak was experiencing the same problems. His ship's engines were running at full power, but they weren't moving forward anymore. The space around them seemed thick, like trying to fly through water instead of vacuum. "Status report," he ordered. "Sir, our weapon systems are operating at only 30% efficiency. Our shields are flickering and are faster than light. Drive is completely offline," his weapons officer reported. Mordak had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had never seen anything like this. "What kind of weapon creates these effects?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's hull began to vibrate with a low humming sound. Through the windows, they could see Earth in the distance, but now it was glowing with an eerie light that hurt to look at directly. In the Quantum Command Center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sora watched her instruments with satisfaction. The dimensional phase shift was working exactly as planned. Earth and the surrounding space had been pulled into a pocket dimension where human physics ruled instead of the universal laws the Council took for granted. "All systems are operating perfectly," she reported to Admiral Tae-ho. "The Council fleet is now trapped in our local space-time bubble. Their technology is designed for normal physics. In here, those rules don't apply." She turned to her team of scientists. "Begin Phase 2. Activate the reality anchors." Across Earth, hidden installations that had been built in secret for decades came online. These weren't weapons in any traditional sense. They were devices that could change the basic rules of physics in their local area. What the aliens thought was impossible, humans had made real. Admiral Tae-ho stood on the bridge of New Seoul, watching as the Council fleet struggled with their failing systems. The massive alien warships that had seemed so threatening just minutes ago now looked helpless and confused. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're receiving frantic transmissions from multiple Council ships. They're trying to understand. What's happening to them?" "Let me guess," Tae-ho replied with a grim smile. "They want to negotiate now." "Yes, sir. Chancellor Vrix is demanding to speak with you immediately." Tae-ho nodded. "Put her through. But first, signal Captain Dongwu. Tell him it's time to show our guests what humans can really do." Captain Dongwu received the signal on his ship, the Busan Rising. Unlike the Council vessels, his ship was designed to work with the new physics of the pocket dimension. Human engineers had spent decades preparing for this moment. "All crew members, prepare for combat operations," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species the Council has enslaved." His ship began to move through space in ways that should have been impossible. Instead of following straight lines, the Busan Rising could phase in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. The first Council ship they approached was the Zephyrian cruiser Stormbringer. Captain Dongwu watched as his crew prepared their boarding equipment. They didn't need to break through the hull or fight their way past defenses. In this dimension, humans could walk through solid matter if they knew how. "Boarding Team Alpha, you are clear to proceed," Dongwu ordered. 20 human soldiers disappeared from the bridge of the Busan Rising and reappeared inside the Council ship's command center. The alien crew stared in shock as humans materialized out of thin air around them. "What sorcery is this?" demanded the Zephyrian captain, his tentacles writhing in fear. The human squad leader, Sergeant Min-ho, spoke in perfect Zephyrian language. "Not sorcery. Science. Your weapons are useless here. Surrender your ship." The Zephyrian captain reached for his plasma rifle, but when he pulled the trigger, nothing happened. The weapon's energy cells had been drained by the strange physics of the pocket dimension. "Impossible," he whispered. "You keep using that word," Sergeant Min-ho replied. "I don't think it means what you think it means." Across the trapped fleet, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of Council ships. Human boarding parties appeared without warning, their technology working perfectly while alien systems failed one by one. The hunters had become the hunted. On the flagship Dominion's Will, Fleet Commander Zeftar was learning the true meaning of helplessness. His massive ship, which could crack planets, couldn't even fire a single shot. His communications were dead. His engines were failing, and his crew was in a state of panic. "Sir," his aide reported with a trembling voice, "human soldiers have just appeared in sections 7 through 12. They're not using airlocks or transport beams. They're just appearing." Zeftar had commanded fleets for over 300 years. He had seen every type of warfare the galaxy had to offer, but this was beyond his understanding. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. 17 so far, sir. The humans are capturing our vessels faster than we can count them." In the hidden facility beneath Antarctica, engineer Jin Woo was monitoring the entire operation. His life's work was performing beyond every expectation. The Ghost Protocol wasn't just changing the rules of physics. It was rewriting them completely. "Dr. Sora," he called out over the communication system, "the dimensional anchors are stable. We can maintain this pocket universe indefinitely." "Excellent," came her reply. "How are our people adapting to the new environment?" Jin Woo checked his readings. "Better than we hoped. Human biology seems naturally compatible with altered physics. We're actually getting stronger and faster in this dimension." This was something the scientists had discovered during their secret experiments. While alien technology failed in altered physics, human beings thrived. It was as if humanity had been designed for environments that other species couldn't even survive in. Scientist Kyung Ho was documenting everything from his underwater laboratory. The data they were collecting would advance human science by thousands of years in just a few hours. "This is incredible," he told his team. "We're not just capturing council ships. We're learning how their technology works. Every alien system we study makes us stronger." He pulled up displays showing the internal workings of Zephyrian plasma weapons, Threnody shield generators, and dozens of other alien technologies. In the normal universe, it would take years to understand these systems. In the pocket dimension, human minds could process the information in minutes. "Upload everything to the central database," Kyung Ho ordered. "Make sure every human scientist has access to these discoveries." On Earth's surface, President Hee-jin watched the battle from her secure bunker. The screens around her showed human forces systematically capturing council ships without firing a single shot. It was the most one-sided battle in galactic history. "Madam President," her military advisor said, "we're receiving surrender requests from over 50 council vessels. They want to negotiate." "Not yet," President Hye-jin replied firmly. "We're not done teaching them their lesson." She activated her communication system to speak with Admiral Tae-ho. "Admiral, how are our people doing?" "Better than expected, Madam President. Our soldiers report that fighting in this dimension is like having superpowers. We're faster, stronger, and smarter than we've ever been." "And the aliens?" "Confused, frightened, and completely outmatched. They're learning what it feels like to be the weak ones." Commander Mireille led her troops through the captured council ships, securing alien technology and freeing any prisoners they found. On the Threnody vessel Crimson Dawn, they discovered something that made her blood boil with anger. "Admiral," she reported over her communicator, "we've found holding cells containing members of the 17 enslaved species. The Council has been using them as slave labor on their own ships." The cells contained creatures that had once been proud, intelligent beings, but now they moved slowly, their eyes empty, their minds controlled by neural implants that kept them obedient. "Can we help them?" Admiral Tae-ho asked. "Dr. Sora thinks so. The altered physics in this dimension might be able to disrupt the Council's mind control technology." Mireille watched as her medical team carefully removed the neural implants from the enslaved beings. As soon as the devices were gone, the prisoners began to wake up as if from a terrible dream. One of them, a creature that looked like a walking flower, spoke in a weak voice. Where are we? What happened to us?" "You're free," Mireille told them gently. "The humans have freed you." The flower being's petals trembled with emotion. "Humans? But the Council said humans were dangerous." "Primitives," Mireille smiled. "We are dangerous, but only to those who would enslave others." Commander Mireille stood in the main hangar of the captured Council flagship, watching as her teams worked with deadly efficiency. What had once been the pride of the Galactic Council's fleet was now a human-controlled vessel, its alien crew sitting in shocked silence as they watched their captors move through their ship like they owned it. "Status report," she called out to her squad leaders. "All decks secured," reported Sergeant Min-ho. "We've cataloged every piece of technology on this ship. The engineering teams are already figuring out how to improve it." Mireille nodded with satisfaction. This was what made humans different from other species. They didn't just defeat their enemies. They learned from them, adapted their technology, and made it better. "What about the crew?" she asked, cooperative but confused. "They keep asking how we're doing impossible things." Mireille smiled grimly. "Tell them we're just getting started." In the ship's former command center, Fleet Commander Zeftar sat under guard, staring at the humans who had taken over his vessel. He had commanded this ship for 50 years, fighting battles across the galaxy. Now he watched helplessly as creatures he had thought were primitives operated his systems better than his own crew. How? He asked the human technician who was studying. His navigation controls. The technician, a young woman named Engineer Yoon-ji, looked up from her work. How what? How are you doing this? Your species barely understands basic space travel. You shouldn't be able to operate our advanced systems. Yoon-ji laughed. Advanced? Your technology is thousands of years old. You've been using the same designs for so long that you forgot how to innovate. She pointed to the navigation console. This system is incredibly inefficient. It takes you hours to calculate a jump that we can do in minutes. You've been so focused on following the rules that you never learned to break them. Zeftar watched as she made adjustments to his ship's systems. Within minutes, the navigation computer was running twice as fast as it ever had before. Impossible, he whispered. There's that word again, Yoon-ji replied. You need to expand your vocabulary. Across the captured fleet, similar scenes were playing out on every council ship. Human engineers were not just studying alien technology, they were improving it, combining it with human innovations, and creating hybrid systems that were more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Dongwu stood on the bridge of the Busan Rising, coordinating the systematic takeover of the council fleet. His ship had become the command center for the most unusual military operation in history. Captain, his communications officer reported, we're receiving transmissions from the enslaved species we've freed. They're asking what we plan to do with them. Dongwu had been thinking about this problem. The 17 species that the council had enslaved over the centuries were now free, but they had nowhere to go. Their homeworlds had been taken over by council forces. Put me through to Admiral Taeho, he ordered. Taeho's voice came through the speaker. What's your status, Captain? Sir, we've successfully captured the entire council fleet. But we have a new situation. The freed slaves are asking for our help to liberate their home worlds. There was a pause as the Admiral considered this. How many council worlds are we talking about? According to the data we've recovered, the Council controls over 300 star systems. They have garrison fleets on each of the enslaved worlds. Another pause. That's a lot of ships, Captain. Yes, sir. But after what we've accomplished here, I don't think there'll be much of a challenge. Admiral Taeho was right. To be cautious. The Council fleet they had captured was just one of many. But as he looked at the reports coming in from his teams, he began to understand the true scope of what humanity had achieved. Dr. So-Ra, he called over the communication system. What's our status on technology integration? Her voice came back, excited and confident. Admiral, we've made incredible progress. By studying Council technology, we've advanced our own capabilities by centuries. We now have weapons that can disable entire fleets, shields that are virtually impenetrable, and faster-than-light drives that make Council ships look like they're standing still. How long to upgrade our existing fleet? With the manufacturing systems we've captured, we can have a full battle fleet ready within days. This was another uniquely human trait that amazed the captured aliens. While other species took years or decades to integrate new technology, humans could adapt and improve systems almost instantly. Scientist Kyung-ho was working around the clock, in his underwater laboratory, processing the massive amount of data they had captured from Council ships. What he was discovering would reshape humanity's understanding of the galaxy. This is incredible, he told his research team. The Council has detailed records of every species in the galaxy. We now know the locations of hundreds of civilizations, their technological levels, their military capabilities, everything. He pulled up a star map showing the Council's territory. Red dots marked enslaved worlds, yellow dots showed Council strongholds, and green dots indicated free species that had so far avoided Council attention. Look at this, he said, pointing to a cluster of green dots. There are at least 30 species that the Council is planning to neutralize in the next century. They have detailed invasion plans for each one. His assistant, Dr. Park, leaned over to study the display. Should we warn them? More than that, Kyung-ho replied. We should help them prepare. He activated his communication link to Admiral Tae-ho. Admiral, I'm sending you the Council's complete expansion plans. They're not just slavers. They're actively hunting down every free species in the galaxy. Back on the flagship, Chancellor Vrix sat in the ship's detention center, her compound, eyes reflecting the harsh lights of the human-designed holding cell. For the first time in her long life, she was experiencing what it felt like to be a prisoner. The cell was comfortable but secure. The humans had removed her from the bridge. Without violence, treating her with the same professional courtesy they might show any prisoner of war. But she could see the determination in their eyes. These beings would not be intimidated or bargained with. A human guard approached her cell. It was Commander Mi-Ray, who had been personally overseeing the treatment of high-value prisoners. Chancellor Vrix, Mi-Ray said politely. Admiral Tae-ho would like to speak with you. I have nothing to say to your primitives, Vrix replied, trying to maintain some dignity. Mi-Ray's expression didn't change. That's unfortunate, because he has quite a lot to say to you. The cell wall became transparent, revealing Admiral Tae-ho standing in the corridor outside. His expression was calm but serious, like a teacher about to deliver a difficult lesson. Chancellor, he said, I think it's time we had an honest conversation about the future. Vrix remained silent, but her antennae twitched with nervousness. We've been studying your records, Tae-ho continued. We know about the 17 species you've enslaved. We know about your plans to neutralize 30 more civilizations. We know about the neural implants, the genetic modifications, the systematic destruction of cultures. He paused, letting his words sink in. The question is, what do we do about it? You cannot fight the entire council, Vrix finally spoke. We have thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, entire worlds dedicated to military production. Had, Tae-ho corrected her. You had those things, but now we have something better. What could you possibly have that matches our might? Tae-ho smiled, and for the first time, Vrix felt genuine fear. We have the one thing your council never developed. We have the ability to learn from our mistakes. He gestured to the walls around them. This ship is already being converted to human specifications. Your crew is learning to operate under our command. Your technology is being improved by our engineers. Within a week, this vessel will be more powerful than it ever was under council control. Vrix's mandibles clicked nervously. What do you want from us? Simple, Tae-ho replied. We want you to contact the council leadership and tell them that the age of forced neutralization is over. They will never accept that. The council has maintained order in the galaxy for 10,000 years. Order? Mi-Ray stepped forward, her voice carrying barely controlled anger. You call slavery order? You call the systematic destruction of cultures order? She activated a handheld display showing images of the enslaved beings they had rescued. These creatures had families, dreams, hopes for the future. You took all of that away and turned them into mindless servants. It was for their own good. Vrix protested weakly. Young species are dangerous. They need guidance. No, Tae-ho said firmly. They need freedom. And we're going to give it to them. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Chancellor, you might want to prepare your council, colleagues, for some significant changes in galactic politics. Humanity is about to introduce some new concepts to your orderly universe. What concepts? Vrix called out as he walked away. Justice, liberty, and consequences for those who would enslave others. As the humans left her alone in the cell, Chancellor, Vrix finally understood what her species had awakened. They hadn't just failed to neutralize a dangerous species. They had created a force that would reshape the galaxy according to principles the Council had never considered. President Hae-jin stood before the largest gathering of world leaders in human history. The Great Assembly Hall had been expanded to accommodate representatives from every nation on Earth, plus delegates from the 17 species humanity had liberated from council control. "Today marks the beginning of a new age," she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall and broadcast to every human settlement across the galaxy. "We face a choice that will define not just humanity's future, but the future of freedom itself in our galaxy." The assembled delegates listened in respectful silence. Among them sat beings that looked like walking flowers, creatures with crystal, skin that sparkled in the light, and others whose forms defied easy description. All had been slaves just weeks ago. Now they were free partners in humanity's growing alliance. "The Galactic Council has ruled through fear and oppression for 10,000 years, President Hae-jin continued. They have enslaved 17 civilizations, destroyed countless cultures, and plan to do the same to at least 30 more species. This ends today." She gestured to the massive display behind her, showing a map of the galaxy with hundreds of star systems marked in different colors. Red for enslaved worlds, yellow for council strongholds, green for free species, and now blue for systems under human protection. "We have the power to change everything," she declared. "Our new alliance will be called the Free Worlds Coalition. Any species that values liberty and self-determination is welcome to join us. Those who choose to continue enslaving others will find that humanity has very strong opinions about slavery." The hall erupted in applause from dozens of different species, each expressing approval in their own unique way. Some clapped, others sang, and a few glowed brighter with excitement. Admiral Tae-ho watched the ceremony from the bridge of Earth's new flagship, the Harmony of Worlds. The ship was a marvel of hybrid technology, combining the best of human innovation with improvements made from studying council systems. It was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral, Captain Dong-woo, reported from his position at the navigation station. "The liberation fleets are ready to depart. We have 50 ship groups standing by to begin simultaneous operations across council space." Tae-ho nodded with satisfaction. In just 3 weeks, humanity had built a fleet that dwarfed anything the council could put together. More importantly, every ship was crewed by beings who had experienced slavery firsthand and were eager to prevent others from suffering the same fate. "Begin Operation Freedom Dawn," he ordered. "All fleets are authorized to proceed." Across human space, the largest military operation in galactic history began. But this wasn't a traditional war. Humanity had learned that the most effective weapon against oppression wasn't destruction, but liberation. Commander Mirai led the first liberation fleet toward the Zenthari system, where a proud warrior species had been enslaved for 300 years. Her ship, the New Busan, could create pocket dimensions wherever it traveled, giving her the same reality-bending advantages that had defeated the original Council fleet. "Remember," she told her crew over the communication system, "we're not here to conquer. We're here to free. Every shot we fire should be aimed at breaking chains, not taking lives." The Council garrison fleet around Zenthar Prime was impressive by old standards. 30 warships protected the enslaved world, their weapons pointed, down at the cities below as a constant reminder of Council power. But when Mirai's fleet arrived, they didn't attack the Council ships. Instead, they simply appeared throughout the enemy formation, phasing in and out of normal space like ghosts. "Council vessels," Mirai broadcast on all frequencies. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Your weapons cannot harm us in this dimensional state. You have 2 choices: surrender peacefully and return to Council space, or resist and have your ships disabled." The Council commander, a Threnody admiral named Kex-Tar, responded with predictable arrogance. "You cannot threaten the might of the Council with your primitive tricks." "Sir," his science officer interrupted nervously, "our sensors show that human ships are appearing inside our formation. Their energy signatures are completely unknown. And sir, They're disabling our weapon systems remotely. Kextar looked at his instruments in growing panic. One by one, his ships were losing power to their weapons, shields, and engines. The humans weren't even attacking them directly. They were simply making their technology stop working. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. His science officer's voice was barely a whisper. "They're rewriting the laws of physics around our ships, sir. Our technology is designed for normal space. In their altered reality, our systems can't function." Within minutes, and the more, entire Council garrison fleet was floating helplessly in space. Mireille's ships moved among them like shepherds herding sheep, gently but firmly directing the disabled vessels away from the planet. "Attention, people of Zenthar Prime," Mireille broadcast to the planet below. "You are free. The Council garrison has been removed. Prepare to reclaim your world." On the planet's surface, millions of Zenthari looked up at the sky in amazement. For 3 centuries, they had served as slave labor in the Council's mining operations. Their children had been taken away to serve on Council ships. Their culture had been systematically destroyed. But now, for the first time in living memory, the sky held no threat. The Council ships that had enforced their slavery were gone, replaced by human vessels that promised freedom instead of oppression. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as humanity's liberation fleets arrived. At enslaved worlds, each operation followed the same pattern: disable the Council forces without unnecessary violence, free the enslaved population, and offer protection and alliance to those who wanted it. Scientist Kyung-ho coordinated the massive operation from his command center on Earth. Dozens of displays showed the progress of liberation fleets across Council space. The results were better than anyone had dared hope. "Dr. Sora," he reported, "we've successfully liberated 43 worlds in the past week. Council resistance has been minimal. Most of their garrison commanders surrender as soon as they realize their weapons don't work against us." Dr. Sora smiled as she monitored the dimensional fields protecting each human fleet. The Council spent so much time believing in their own superiority that they never prepared for someone who could change. The rules of the game. She pulled up reports from the liberated worlds. "Look at this. The freed populations aren't just grateful. They're volunteering to help us liberate other worlds. We're not just building a military alliance. We're creating a movement." Back in his detention cell on the captured flagship, Chancellor Vrix watched reports of the liberation campaign with growing despair. Everything the Council had built over 10 millennia was falling apart in a matter of weeks. "Your people are destroying galactic civilization," she told her human guard during one of her daily interrogations. The guard, a young lieutenant named Jae-hyun, looked at her with genuine confusion. "How is freeing slaves destroying civilization?" "The Council maintains order. Without our guidance, young species develop weapons that threaten everyone. They wage wars, destroy planets, create chaos." Jae-hyun consulted his data pad. "According to our records, the Council has destroyed more planets than all the free species combined. Your guided civilizations have been used as cannon fodder in dozens of wars. And the only chaos we've seen is the chaos of watching free beings celebrate their liberation." He showed her images from the newly freed worlds. Former slaves were rebuilding their cities, teaching their children forgotten languages, and creating art that had been banned for centuries. "This is what civilization looks like, Chancellor. Not the sterile uniformity you call order." Engineer Jin Woo stood in the expanded facility beneath Antarctica, overseeing the production of humanity's new generation of ships. The quantum manufacturing systems they had captured from the Council could build vessels in days instead of years. But the most remarkable thing wasn't the speed of construction. It was what they were building. Each new ship was designed by a collaborative team of humans and freed aliens, combining the best ideas from dozens of different species. "Admiral Tae-ho," he reported, "the Free Worlds Coalition fleet is now larger than the entire Council Navy. But more importantly, it's more advanced. Every ship incorporates innovations from our member species. The freed civilizations had brought more than gratitude to the Alliance. They had brought centuries of suppressed knowledge, hidden technologies, that the Council had forbidden them to develop. Combined with human innovation, these ideas were creating marvels that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Dongwu led the diplomatic mission to contact the 30 species the Council had planned to neutralize. His ship, now called the Bridge Builder, carried representatives from all 17 liberated civilizations and advanced defensive systems that could protect entire star systems. The first stop was the Corvin system, where a peaceful trading civilization had been unaware of the Council's plans for their future. When Dongwu's ship appeared in their space, the Corvan government sent a cautious greeting. "Unknown vessel, please state your intentions," came the transmission. "Greetings, people of Corvan," Dongwu replied. "We are the Free Worlds Coalition.